Hello, and welcome to another Ogre Arena. So, here's the deal. You might be wondering, what the crap am I doing here? What does old school RuneScape have anything to do with Dark Souls? And, you know, the answer is actually more simple than you'd expect. You see, in both of these, sure, your stats matter, your location matters, the way you fight, it matters. However, you know what the most important part is? The style you bring to the fight. How many weird clothes you can bring with you in order to kill off that other guy. If you show up in a Speedo and a friggin' party hat or whatever, and you kill off the other guy, you're the real winner. If you show up, you know, in a just friggin' decked out for some old medieval ball or some crap and beat somebody with a stick, you're the real winner. Even if you lost. You're the real winner there. It's all about that style and all that fashion there. So, here's the party. So, I went for a mix of NPCs and player builds on each of these just to see how we do. So, without any further preference on order here, so we've got Havel the Rock, his rock armor, and this Legion helm, which looks a fair bit like his, even though it's kind of like a samurai helm, but whatever. We've got the Gorgon shield with its evil eye ability to turn stuff into rocks, because why the crap not? He doesn't really like magical stuff, but this thing actually had more defense than the Aegis for some reason, so kind of went with that. And then the Briarios, which is a fair bit closer to the dragon tooth than any of the other hammers, so I thought it was pretty awesome. I've got Solaire in just basic Baldur stuff, and a Spark Guard ring because he liked to travel around that lava area. Hopefully he found his son, who knows. His own personal son or whatever. We've got Ornstein the Dragoon with Shock Lance and Stormburst. All set up. He's kind of set up for a wind build with lightning magic. It's just this was more yellow, and it had the Zephyros, which also has Vortex Cut, which is pretty freaking awesome. We've got Smo here with the Euros and the Rock Coat and the Ogre Helm here to scare stuff, even though he's a Berserker. We've got this random cosplay build that showed up for some cosplay no one's ever seen before. Because this seemed to show up all the friggin' time. Like, I saw somebody with a claw and a spear in every game that I've tried so far. I don't know what this is. It's a claw, spear, dress, and, like, weird gloves. I don't know what this is. If it's a reference to something I don't know, I definitely don't know it. But, you know, it's here anyway, so I just wanted to shove this in here. I was going to put the naked guy with the claws, but there wasn't any class that looked naked, so whatever, that'll do. So we've got the Strength build. They've got Instill Darkness for their buff ability. They've got the Dragon Slayer, because of course, you know, every game's got to have the Dragon Slayer. And then the Dynamo Plate, Sealamite, and Hellforge for maxed out strength. Or near maxed out, I wasn't going to give them the full Ogre set. We've got the Dex build here. So we've got the Goddess Unleashed with its unique ability to just scare stuff and to give him a buff. The Garb here and the Leggings, because robes and leggings are more common than you might think. And Spark Guard build, Ring, because I saw a lot of Dex builds around Lost Isleth all the time. Not sure why. So this is why I didn't give the other guy the Ogre set. We've got Artorias over here with the full Ogre set and the Fire Crest. He should be a downright beast. We've got Lautrec here with his sickle and parrying dagger. He's got the Legion set because, you know, he's friendly. You're not going to attack him. We've got Trusty Patches here with only the backstab ability, the Scout set, and a dagger. Plus the Void Ring. He probably won't do much. We've got the Emerald Herald with a few dances and her usual uniform here, so we'll see if she does anything. And then we've got Priscilla, because why not? With this kind of scythe-looking thing, fluffy robes, and a crown type situation, plus higher stats from the Crest of Fire. So, we'll see how these do. Here, so you can see their AIs. And let's go get the other party here. So here we've got Bob's Legion. With no particular order here, we've got the D-Claw No Skull. This is a PKer you saw all the friggin' time towards the end of old RuneScape's life. I know that old school RuneScape, I don't think it technically has reinserted the claws in any way. The D-Claws, for those unfamiliar, were a notoriously annoying weapon, because if you died while fighting in a certain area, you lost all your items and they could steal them. Well, all but 3 of them. If you attacked someone first, you got a skull over your head, which basically meant that you would lose all of your items unless you used a particular ability to save one of them, which would basically be calculated based off in-game value. So the reason that this build is here is because there was one in particular that would stand around wearing relatively weak equipment. As soon as you attacked them, you would get a skull over your head, they would pull out these claws, and they would completely destroy you, because their ability was to hit 4 times instantly. So, for example, these ones are the perfect example of this, because it was 4 relatively random hits that if, like, even 2 of them maxed out, you were just dead. You're just dead on the spot. So, usually, the way I ended up seeing these going is you would see somebody drinking, like, prayer potions or stuff like that, which is... It's kind of this passive skill that reflected some damage, whatever. But they would be wearing, like, light leather and then just a sword or something, and then they would whip these out and murder you. So that's here. We've got the budget DDS, the version that came before that, with a parrying dagger, a 2-hit dagger, a D-hide in that one, and rune legs, which in this case will be the scout vest and damask leggings. We've got Zazima, representing the old, kind of the old guard, as it were, the standard players. This thing looks just like a D-long, this thing looks just like a rune kite. This thing looks a fair bit like, well, I guess it varied, but looks like a fair bit like a couple of the Barrow's armors. And then you got your helmet over here, because you gotta have one. Typically you saw people with a rune helm because they were cheap, but whatever. And then the Crest of Fire, because he's probably got 99 everything. But bear in mind, both of these teams have no weapon skills, with few exceptions, because they basically just run up and hit stuff. They don't have any fancy kill moves that they pull out. So we've got Old School. This is the guy from, like, RS Classic way back in the early 90s. So here with his Rune 2H, his Rune Plate, and Rune Helmet. We've got Zanuck, one of the NPCs, with her leather getup and her, technically it's supposed to be a railgun, but the Crucible bowgun looks the most like it. I was tempted to give her one of the other ones, but screw it, she's just kind of here. This is my old character from back in the game, like, back, again, right before I quit it, once they ended up kind of going and changing all the graphics and everything, and it suddenly looked all cartoony and crap. So I was always going between a halberd and a spear, and it was either a poison spear or a long-range halberd, and a rune chain, because I was a cheap bastard, and I was kind of expecting to be killed off by everything all the time. So I literally just had some chainmail, a cape, and a spear, and that was my character. And yeah, sometimes a cheap necklace of some description for teleporting around. So this looks the most like that. Now we got Sarissus. He's one of the... Well, I would say he's my favorite NPC in the thing. He's literally a guy that's sitting around with maxed out stats, and just has all of his... he has all the maxed out stats, all the best equipment in the game, and he's just sitting freaking out in a cave because he's scared of fighting stuff. Apparently he literally just choked out, like, chickens over the course of 30 years or something. It was ridiculous. But anyway, so to explain his thing, he goes with a whip, he has a D-helm, which looks like the Barboot, and he has the Thanatos thing. The whip's special ability is kind of similar to Drainheart, so I put that, and then the Crest of Fire for his 99s. Then we got the Quest Cape build. I just want to speed through the rest of these because I just realized how long this is taking. This looks the most like the Quest Cape. City Shoes, because typically somebody with that kind of setup would just teleport around. The Khalid Bolg, because they probably have Ancients on them from their questing. So yeah, they've got that for piercing ice damage. They've got this thing that looks just like a God Sword, and Selamite, because probably why not. We've got the Void Archer, with a Dark Coat, Void Ring, just because, and then the Cherubis, because it hits twice, because they would probably use a Dark Bow with that setup. We've got the Noob Mage, the one with starter equipment, but relatively powerful spells on him. They're probably going to get killed quickly if they don't get the kill first. We've got the Ancient here, with a lot of stopping and leeching abilities, specializing primarily in ice. This looks a fair bit like the Ancient Staff, but, you know, close enough. And then we've got the Style, showing up there with what looks closer to a DDS. We'll pretend this is a Dragon Defender or something, and then they have something else over here. Whatever. And then they always show up with all the fancy stuff. So this is the Alker, the one that stands around at the bank and goes and makes billions of dollars every day. So that one. And alright, without any further yammering on, let's get this going. Alright, because yeah, we're already 9 minutes in. I don't want to explain this forever. Personally, I think between these two, Souls is going to get it. Dang it, this map is not working like I thought it would. I thought they would start at either end of the map. I don't know why I thought that, because I should have known better. Alright. So, basically, the RS side has more usabilities and more competent fighters, I would say. Or, I guess, just balanced fighters, whereas the DS team has, well, as you can see there, they've got a lot more defensive abilities, and they've got friggin' Artorias. If anything, I would bet everybody else is going to be about even, and then if they can't beat Artorias, well, he's going to completely crush them. Alright, so Paranoia, that's not really going to do anything, I don't think. I forget what Paranoia does. Let's take a look at that real quick. Holy crap. Okay, yeah, no, they might be... Okay, Zanuck has leather armor, that's why. If you're wondering... well, first off, let's take a look at Paranoia here. Where's status? Let's see. Actions and movement cannot be controlled, refuses all aid from allies. Well... I mean, they're the declaw person, so they're probably fine on that anyway. But okay, so... What was I getting at here? What are you doing? Well, turn them into a rock. How about that? Fitting for Havel the Rock. But okay, so, as far as that one character in leather there, it should be noted, and I've noted this before, but when it comes to One Vision, the older equipment, the crappier equipment, it's still possible to get by with it. So its stats may be worse, but again, its main thing is just that it's easier to pierce. That doesn't mean it doesn't do any kind of protection whatsoever. It's going to be to the point where wearing even crappy armor is still better than nothing. It's not like its weight is going to be a drag down on you. Also, that one kind of reminded me of one of the attack abilities, which was really more of an earth throw kind of thing. But oh well. It's mostly because I saw this one guy running around with claws and trying to finish somebody off with, I think it was like Earth Blast or something. It's such a... Both of these games had such a weird tendency for bizarre builds, and that's kind of why I end up seeing them as kind of similar so often. I should mention again, this is like either old school RuneScape in its current condition or regular RuneScape back in the day. Because, again, they had a very similar thing with just how people would see the most random crap and somehow make it work. Like I mentioned earlier, like that trick build with the claws. You see that in Dark Souls sometimes too, where you have people, you know, pretending to use one set of equipment, then swapping out for something way stronger, and the other one doesn't know how to adapt. Those kinds of mind games and stuff like that are something you saw very frequently in both games. You saw all kinds of people showing up in just strange costumes just for the sake of, as the saying goes, just styling on the other guy, or, you know... You just saw this kind of stuff all the time, like the random naked guy that shows up and shanks you because someone wanted to make a literal murder hobo. All the friggin' time. Just tell me if you played either of these that you have not run into that situation where just like some rando naked guy came up and murdered you. Because you know you did. Don't even lie. If you played it for more than 5 minutes, you probably got killed by a random hobo. It's happened. Like, invaders do that in Souls all the time. PKers do that in RS all the time. Really, I would just say RS's balance was a fair bit worse, though. Just, I guess, back in the day, and I know this is gonna be like friggin' old man speech here, but back in the day, just when they had fewer items around, they did a little bit of a better job balancing stuff. It's just when they started getting popular and people started demanding a bunch of stuff, they started putting it in way too fast, and then just weren't really sure how to counterbalance stuff properly. And kind of the tipping point came around when those claws that I mentioned earlier came around. Because for the longest time, the best two weapons for somebody at just going for like that rush insta-kill type situation was either the double dagger that one guy has there. So it was originally 4 times in a row, I believe they changed it to 3. You would start off a fight, and each of your hits would do double damage. They would just attack twice quickly. So that was oftentimes, if somebody had their stats high enough, they could overwhelm the other guy's defense. If they both got high damage rolls, they could potentially be devastating. They could do more damage than the other guy could heal. because you basically healed with use items, similar to Souls. Both of them, you just healed with a use item, so if somebody could do more damage than that thing, you were in really dire straits. Usually running away and healing with some... In RuneScape's case, it was food, and Souls, it was either the Estus or a gem. But both of them were pretty similar in that regard, I would say. So, point being, you had very similar strategies that ended up developing in both. But RS's problem... There we go, there's that double hit I was talking about. So RS's problem started with those claws there for a number of reasons. For one, they kind of angered the long-term fans because they had this... It wasn't the most amazing plot ever, but they did have a surprisingly cohesive plot for an MMO. And they had a surprising amount of characters, and they had this big dramatic moment where they basically just, like, killed off all of them at once. And then basically gave you access to those claws. But the weird part is, it's like they really had no idea where they were going with that. Like, they set up dozens of characters, and then they kill them all off, and then they're like, I guess we need new ones? And then they bring in new ones, and they're like, I guess we need something to beat our last boss, and literally just two things come out completely unannounced, insta-kill him. Like, this guy that wiped out everybody. And by wiped out, I mean, like, straight up vaporized. He looks at him, and just basically pulls off the, well, I'm sure everyone's heard of it at this point. They basically pull off the end of, Infinity War. They just do exactly that. They just, like, look at him, they're like, nope, you're dust now. To all of these, characters, they went through multiple months of going and, building them up and saving them from stuff and whatever else. It's supposed to be a gut punch. It kind of felt douchey. They're like, here's this weapon you'll hate completely. Also, we're gonna nuke the storyline. Also... At this point, we don't know what we want to do anymore, so, screw it, let's just redo the entire combat system for some reason. And they went back and tried to basically copy WoW for a while, and then, to this day, they're still trying. So they added in weird lotteries, they added in all kinds of, weapon skills and stuff like that all the time, and pretty much the old community just bailed. So many people left that they actually brought back, they brought back the old game from right before that storyline. Because they knew, they knew that was exactly the point where stuff went wrong, I guess. So they brought it back, and now they have 2 subsequent games running. Because, who the hell knows why. So it's, it's still a fun game, still got stuff. The new one looks ugly as hell, I'm not gonna lie. Oh my god, he does 500 plus. Yeah, I think Artorias is just gonna murder everyone here, that's the story. But yeah, both games had this whole thing where your character was nobody special, and I guess that's what I like the most. Like, RS maybe had one moment where your character was actually somebody important, and then it turns out, nope. Their whole important thing was the fact that they could get killed off and then just get revived. So the whole thing where you die and come back to life because they literally won't let you die, that was your guy's one point for existing. Like, oh, I'm gonna be this great hero guy. No, you're gonna get hit by a rock, and then you're gonna come back and do more favors for us. Like, that, I don't know. It's weird how effective RS was with gut punches, I have to say. Like, for characters that you really wouldn't even think to care about. Actually, that's why Zanuck was on this team. Like, you'd think this rando goblin or whatever wouldn't care or whatever else. They actually made that a compelling story. And I don't know how they did it either. Because it was surprisingly sad. Like, normally... I mean, hell, throughout life I've seen some crap, I've seen all kinds of other people go through crap, legitimately got emotional at that story. And it's weird because it was a surprisingly generic, go be a rebel kind of story. Maybe I was just emotional that this medieval game let me get a friggin' railgun. Weirdly specific railgun. Like, it's a thing that literally only worked and had a chance to work against Oh man, they actually almost beat Artorias here. Is the DS team actually going to pull this off? That'd be interesting. I guess we can kind of see this one as a showcase of cursed weapons and use abilities. Huh. Weird. yeah, despite having some of the strongest... Oof. Despite having a buff, the strongest armor in the game, strongest weapon in the game, strongest damage bonus in the game, I think, at this point, as the Ogre set should be, it seems like he's actually getting beaten by a bunch of randos with no skills. There you go. That's one vision showing off its balance for you. I'd be impressed if the RS team won. I'm not gonna lie. But okay. So, yeah, both of them have the... I know I'm saying this over and over again, but both of them, I would say, are just fairly similar in that regard, because they've got that same thing where there's a bunch of stuff you would honestly think you wouldn't give a crap about that's suddenly turning out to actually have some depth to it. Like, honestly, I'm sure a lot of people didn't really know what to expect from Dark Souls when it came out, and then tried it, and it's like, wow, it's a game with no direct plot, really. There's almost no one speaking, and yet this is... There's stuff going on here, you know? It's just crazy. I don't know. Both of these two have a soft spot in my heart now. Like, RuneScape mostly for nostalgia, because there's no way I'm building up another character, and what the game became is just a downright embarrassment. But... And yes, I have tried OSRS. I've been doing an Iron Man run in the background for a long time on that one, but honestly, just losing interest. I just don't feel like doing it all again, though it is a nice little nostalgia trip every time. And then, you know, Dark Souls is just kind of a legend at this point. It's amazing. But yeah. DS is really just a lot of what makes From amazing, just in one place. By the way, if you're wondering why she has heal moves, she's the one that gives you healing abilities. I figure she needs heal moves. She's just handing out Estus flasks. Yeah, there we go. You know what? Somebody needs to draw that. It's just like the Emerald Herald just going around doing a dance with like 2 pictures of Estus just filling glasses. But of course, knowing the internet, it would be like half the picture is boobs, and the rest is like almost nothing of the actual scenario going on. Like, gotta have 80% boobs, I guess. Oh well. Such is life. But yeah, let's check the team status here. Holy crap, the RS team is actually winning it. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 still standing on the RS team, and then we got 5 still standing on the Dark Souls team. Havel the Rock, because he cannot be beat. We've got Lautrec, because he's probably busy betraying someone. Spoilers. Priscilla and Emerald, who aren't really doing very much. We'll see if Havel can make this happen. Oh, well, yeah, Havel just took out a guy. He also just earned another overpower or parry, I think. That whip is really doing him in, though. Oh, by the way, if you're wondering what the deal is with the Void Archer there, it's actually similar to the Jigla set that's in Tactics Ogre, and I was very tempted to use that one. It's just that most times that set was used with a bow that fires 2 arrows, so I figured that was a little bit more fitting. But it's basically this, oh no! My self-insert character just changed sides. But it's, yes, Smo. Oh wait, yes, it is automated. I wasn't sure there for a sec. But okay, so it's this set that boosts your damage by, I think, like an increase of 10% or something like that per each piece, but has almost no armor to speak of. You're basically trading away all your armor and regular bonuses, and potentially your max damage bonus, because every time that you added to your strength or your ranged ability, you increased your accuracy and damage, depending on what you were using. Like melee needed both attack for accuracy and strength for maximum damage, whereas with ranged and stuff like that, your range score was just both. So you were potentially trading away all of those, because that equipment basically gave you nothing but some mild defense, and then you're getting a bonus on your bonus on the damage of your weapon itself. So used with the right weapons, it could potentially increase your max damage to something ridiculous. So what people would do is they would take that set, which I should mention is it takes a really, really long time to actually get it. Because you have to play this minigame until you can afford all the pieces, which I believe took me like 3 months when I was playing it. Like when I was actually playing it for serious back in the day. And we're just going to assume that was Ancients or something. Every time there's magic from the RS side, it's probably Ancients. Yeah, Ancients is this, you could trade out your spellbook for this one that was all damage, whereas your base one was like all kinds of utility abilities. You had some damage abilities, stuff like alchemy, which turned stuff into money, and all kinds of stuff. And then you had Lunar, which was just all stuff to help you with your skills and or help other players. Like, you could rescue somebody if they were, like, poisoned, you could unpoison them. If they were at low health, you could teleport them away to another city, but it didn't exactly work because they had to click on accept, which almost nobody was ever expecting, so it was mostly just there for people to train it. No, IR rip. But okay. What the hell was I saying before all that? Because I just got lost on a tangent here, apparently. Do we just have the backline characters left now? No. Okay, the RS team actually still has folks. They're going and doing stuff. Yeah, I think RS won this one. So, it's a shame when it became overtime. But, I guess things happen. It's just the type of genre, all things considered. Because RS, at its core, was really just a game where it was a glorified forum for a while. Like, there was a map, there was a story, there was all kinds of stuff you could do. But people spent most of the time doing the usual MMO thing. They were just kind of chilling out. They weren't really going and doing story stuff. They were just fishing or chopping trees or something else and just chatting about their day. And then they actually went and did the story stuff, and, they may grab a group of people, they may just go solo. Odds are, half the time they just turn up dead. And that's just kind of how the game went. Like, the story was pretty unreasonably hard at times. Also, okay, misheard it. I thought the hurricane alarm was going off. Like, okay, so there's one in particular called Morning's Ends Part 2, and I heard they added a Part 3 because they're cruel dicks like that. It was basically a giant Indiana Jones friggin' mansion type situation. Dungeon. There's just like death traps and poison traps and all kinds of crap all over the place. And then you get to the very end, you get through a door, and they're like, oh, here's a giant 3-story wide light puzzle for you to figure out. Like a 3-dimensional light puzzle over several floors. Oh, and you're being attacked constantly the entire time. And if you don't have your ability to give you 100% damage resistance to melee, which was a thing you could set up but only against NPCs. So if you don't have your drinks for being 100% resistant to melee, you're gonna die! Because those things are just following you around, punching you the entire time, and you can't fight back because they're ghosts or some crap. That was so douchey. I don't know what they were thinking. But yeah, that was probably the biggest example of, as the trope goes, God dang it. Where it's just people died over and over and over trying to do that one. And literally at the very end you just got through a hole and they're like, congratulations, you completed the thing. By getting past a hole. And, yeah, then you had to go all the way through it for the second one. Not once, but twice. Yeah, let's see. How'd that storyline go? The very first one, you're basically just traveling around the ruins of a city and you just find signs of there being an underground pass. Then, second part, you end up going all the way through that underground pass. Fourth part is you go to the other end and you basically assassinate a good guy. And then, I believe the part after that is just you take over for what the good guy was actually trying to do. Because, quite frankly, most of the story of RS is just like your guy trying to be a heroic guy and then completely screwing it up. It's like, oh, congratulations, you just killed our main hero guy. Well, I guess it's your job now. Like, but I'm incompetent. Too bad. Or one of my favorites where it's just like, hey, I found this giant conspiracy all over the place. You get punched out, and they go around convincing everybody you were just drunk, because they basically, like, knock you out, put you under for a while, and then, like, there's just a scene of your character going and drunkenly rambling in a bar. And then finally, you go back and you look through your journal, it's like, yeah, nothing happened. It's like all your quest notes are just gone. It's pretty amazing. Like, that's the thing. It was an online, like, point-and-click adventure game. That was the point of RS. Whereas, with Dark Souls, it is basically an online, like, third-person RPG, kind of survival game kind of thing. But similar idea. Your character is nobody super amazing up until you get into very, very late game. And even then, they actually earned their journey. They didn't just have better stats right off the start or something like that, you know? So... Alright, there we go. What is still going on here? Who's left? I'm having a hard time telling who's who here. Okay, so RS has 4 guys. It looks like DS has 1, right? Alright, yeah. Dark Souls only has Lautrec left. The other guys are pretty much at full health, so 4 on 1. Let's see if he can do this. We're going to speed it up a little bit, because it seems like they're just going to go for healing items. Alright, he's going to keep using that health leech. If you're wondering, they're limited to up to 3 uses, I believe, on a lot of these use items. Looks like Style is just going to be busy healing, so they're probably not going to contribute very much. That bow attack can be missed a fair bit. He's going to go around shackling by the looks of it. A parrying dagger probably even does more damage than his katana. Well, I guess technically his shotel, which is just being represented by one of the katanas that looks like it. Yeah, no, he's done for. But go figure, the RS team actually won it. Would not have expected that, especially with Artorias and his Ogre armor there, but he just really let himself get beat down. Come on, Lautrec. You can pull this off. No, you can't. You can do it. No, you can't. Alright. So that was fun. Yeah, let me know if you have any other ones you want to see. And, yeah. Hope you had fun. Have a good one.